There are moments in your life that feel different. Not louder, not obvious, but something beneath the surface shifts, and you can't explain why your thoughts slowed down, why your chest feels heavier, or why your spirit suddenly becomes alert. This, right now, is one of those moments. And July 24th is not just another date passing quietly on a calendar. No, this is a divine interruption. You didn't stumble into this message by accident. You didn't just click randomly. Something deeper pulled you here. Something beyond logic, beyond habit, beyond routine. And if you're honest with yourself, you felt it building for a while, haven't you? That quiet tension, that subtle awareness that something is about to change, but you couldn't quite name it. That's because heaven doesn't always shout first. It whispers. It nudges. It waits until the exact moment your spirit is ready to hear what your mind has been too distracted to notice. And now, that moment has arrived. Archangel Michael stands at the edge of this moment, not as a distant symbol, but as a present force, watching, guarding, and now speaking. Not casually, not gently, but with precision, with urgency, with divine authority that cuts through confusion like a blade through fog. Because July 24th is a checkpoint, a spiritual marker that separates who you've been from who you are about to become. You may have woken up today thinking it was just another day. Same routine, same thoughts, same patterns. But something inside you refused to stay asleep. Something inside you kept pulling your attention, subtly, persistently, toward this exact moment. Why? Because there is a higher level within you that has been waiting, not developing, not forming, waiting for you to notice, waiting for you to become aware, waiting for you to finally see what has been unfolding right in front of you this entire time. And here's the part that may shake you. Nothing new is being created for you right now. Something is being revealed. That feeling you've had lately, that things don't feel the same anymore, that conversations feel different, that certain people feel distant or unfamiliar, that your tolerance for things you once accepted has suddenly disappeared. That is not confusion. That is elevation knocking. That is awareness trying to break through the noise. But here's the problem, and you know this if you're honest. You've been distracted. Not intentionally. Not because you're careless, but because life is loud. Responsibilities pile up. Emotions get tangled. Thoughts race. And in the middle of all of that noise, the most important shift happening within you has almost gone unnoticed. Almost. Because something refused to let you miss this. Think about it. How many times recently have you paused and thought, something is off, but I don't know what it is? Or maybe you felt a strange pull to be alone, to step back, to observe instead of react. Maybe things that once excited you now feel empty. Maybe certain environments feel heavier than they used to. That's not random. That's not mood swings. That's not coincidence. That is the beginning of awareness. And awareness is dangerous to everything that has been keeping you small. Archangel Michael is not here to comfort your old self. He is here to awaken your true self. An awakening doesn't feel comfortable at first. It feels unfamiliar. It feels unsettling. It feels like something is being taken away when in reality, something greater is trying to emerge. But it cannot emerge if you remain unconscious to what is happening right now. That's why this moment matters. That's why July 24th matters. Because this is not about what's coming next week, next month, or next year. This is about what is happening right now, and whether you will finally notice it. Because the higher level within you does not activate through effort. It activates through awareness. And right now you are standing at the edge of that activation. The question is, will you stay present long enough to cross it? Or will this moment pass like so many others unnoticed? Type "I am aware" in the comments if you feel this message stirring something inside you. Blessing code 2424 is now surrounding you. There are messages that comfort you, and then there are messages that confront you. What you are hearing now is not meant to soothe your old patterns or reassure your past identity. This is not a gentle reminder. This is not a soft suggestion whispered into a quiet moment. This is a command, clear, direct, and undeniable, and it comes from a place of divine authority that does not negotiate with distraction, delay, or denial. Archangel Michael does not step forward casually. He does not speak to fill silence or entertain curiosity. When he speaks, it is because something has reached a critical point. And right now, he is not asking for your attention. He is requiring it. Because what is happening within you is too important to be missed, and what is unfolding around you is too precise to be ignored. You may feel a shift even as you hear this, a tightening in your focus, a sense that this is no longer just a message you're listening to, but something that is speaking directly into you. That is not imagination. That is alignment beginning. That is your spirit recognizing authority when it hears it. Michael's voice carries weight because it carries truth. And truth does not beg to be accepted. It stands firm, whether you embrace it or not. He is not here to convince you of your potential. He is here to reveal that your potential has already reached a point of activation, and your delay in noticing it is the only thing holding it back. Listen closely, because this is where everything shifts. He is saying that the higher level within you is not waiting for more time. It is not waiting for better conditions. It is not waiting for you to feel ready. He is ready now. Completely. Fully. Without hesitation. But it cannot move forward unless you become aware of what is already happening inside you in this exact moment. This is why his tone is firm. This is why his presence feels intense. Because you are not being prepared for something in the future. You are being called into something in the present. And the longer you treat this moment casually, the longer you delay what has already been released within you. Think about how many times you've told yourself, "I'll figure it out later," or "I just need more clarity," or "maybe I'm overthinking this." Those thoughts felt reasonable at the time. They felt safe. But what if those thoughts were not clarity? What if they were avoidance? What if they were subtle ways of staying comfortable instead of stepping into awareness? Michael is cutting through that now. He is saying, stop postponing what is already present. You are not lacking understanding. You are overlooking it. You are not confused. You are distracted. And distraction is the most effective way to keep someone from stepping into a higher level they are already prepared for. This is why his message is not wrapped in softness. Because softness would allow you to interpret this as optional. And this is not optional. This is a moment of decision disguised as a message. This is a line being drawn between who you were when you were unaware and who you are becoming now that awareness is knocking. He is not asking you if you are ready. He is telling you that readiness has already been established. The only question that remains is whether you will acknowledge it. And here is where the weight of this message deepens, because once you hear a command like this, you cannot return to not knowing. You cannot go back to unconscious patterns and claim ignorance. Something within you has already shifted just by hearing these words. Something has already aligned, and whether you act on it or ignore it, you will feel the difference. That is the responsibility of awareness. It changes everything. You may feel resistance rising right now. A part of you may want to question this, to doubt it, to analyze it instead of receiving it. That resistance is not random. It is the part of you that is still attached to the familiar, still comfortable with the known, still hesitant to step into something greater because greater requires change. But Michael is not speaking to that part of you. He is speaking to the part of you that already knows. The part of you that has been sensing this shift for days, maybe even weeks. The part of you that has felt out of place in situations that once felt normal. The part of you that has been quietly observing, quietly noticing, quietly awakening. That part of you is not confused. That part of you is ready. And now, it is being called forward. This is why you cannot treat this like background noise. This is why you cannot listen passively and move on. Because this is not information. It is activation in motion. And activation does not wait for convenience. It requires presence. It requires attention. It requires you to fully engage with what is happening right now, not later. Michael's command is simple, but it is not easy. Pay attention. Not to everything. Not to the noise. Not to the distractions. But to what is happening within you right now. Because that is where the higher level is waiting to rise. Type "I listen" and obey in the comments if you receive this message. Blessing code 2727 is now activated around you. There is something inside you that you have never fully met. Not because it wasn't there, but because it was never activated. It has been quiet, patient, almost hidden beneath layers of routine, expectation, and identity that you built over time. And yet, despite how silent it has always been present, watching, waiting, knowing that one day, a moment like this would arrive. That higher level within you is not a future version of yourself. It is not something you have to become through effort, struggle, or years of preparation. It already exists, fully formed, fully aware, fully aligned with a level of clarity and power that your current mind is only beginning to recognize. And what you are feeling right now, that subtle tension, that quiet stirring, that sense that something deeper is trying to rise, that is not imagination. That is activation beginning. You may have noticed it in small ways at first. A sudden shift in how you respond to situations that used to control you. A quiet refusal to engage in conversations that once felt normal. A sense of distance from environments that no longer resonate. These are not random changes. These are signs that something within you is waking up, stretching beyond the limits you once accepted without question. But here is what makes this moment so powerful and so easy to miss. The higher level within you does not announce itself loudly. It does not force its way into your awareness. It emerges quietly, almost gently, waiting to see if you will notice it or ignore it. And this is where most people lose it. Because they expect transformation to feel dramatic. They expect a clear signal, a major event, a defining moment that makes everything obvious. But real activation does not work that way. It begins in silence. It begins in subtle shifts. It begins in moments that seem ordinary until you realize they are not. Think about the way you've been thinking lately. The way certain thoughts don't feel right anymore. The way you catch yourself observing instead of reacting. The way you pause where you once were. That is not hesitation. That is awareness expanding. That is the higher level within you stepping forward, slowly replacing the version of you that operated on autopilot. And yet, part of you may still be resisting it. Not because you want to stay the same, but because this new level feels unfamiliar. It requires you to let go of what you once identified with. It asks you to step beyond patterns that once felt safe. And even though those patterns may have limited you, they were predictable. They were known. And the unknown, even when it is greater, can feel unsettling at first. But Archangel Michael is making something very clear in this moment. You are not stepping into something new. You are remembering something true. This higher level is not foreign to you. It is the most authentic version of you. The version that sees clearly, that moves intentionally, that does not get pulled into noise or confusion. It is the version of you that has always been there beneath the distractions, beneath the conditioning, beneath the layers of expectation that shaped how you thought you had to be. And now, that version is rising. You may feel it as a kind of internal pressure, as if something is pushing from within, asking to be acknowledged. You may feel moments where everything slows down, where your awareness sharpens, where you suddenly see things you didn't notice before. That is not coincidence. That is alignment beginning to take form. But here is the truth that many do not want to face. If you ignore this stirring, it will not disappear, but it will remain dormant. It will wait again. It will quiet itself again. And you will continue living at a level beneath what you are already capable of. This is why this moment matters so deeply. Because the higher level within you is not forcing activation. It is offering it. And the difference between those who rise and those who remain where they are is not ability. It is not intelligence. It is not even timing. It is awareness. A willingness to notice what is already happening. The courage to trust what you are feeling, even if you cannot fully explain it yet. The decision to stay present long enough to let this new level fully emerge. Right now, you are standing in that space, between who you have been and who you already are beneath the surface. And the more you pay attention, the clearer it will become. The more you observe without reacting, the stronger it will feel. The more you trust what is rising within you, the more it will take shape in your reality. This is not something you chase. This is something you allow, because it is already yours. Type "I am ready to rise" in the comments if you feel this activation within you. Blessing code 3030 is now surrounding your spirit. As this hidden level within you begins to rise, understand this: every moment of awakening is not meant to stay with you alone. It is meant to reach others who are still asleep, still searching, still waiting for clarity. When you choose to support this mission through super thanks with the PayPal link in the description, you are not giving to a channel. You are sowing seeds into souls ready to awaken. The word says, "Those who sow in tears shall reap in joy." And today, your seed becomes light in someone else's darkness. I feel led to say this directly to you. This is your moment to act, not casually, but prophetically. What you release now opens a flow that returns multiplied into your own life. Do not hesitate. Do not delay. Step into alignment and give as you are led. There is a reason why everything you are hearing keeps bringing you back to one simple idea. Notice what is happening now. Not yesterday. Not tomorrow. Not what you think is coming next. But what is unfolding within you in this exact moment. Because the truth that many overlook, the truth that most delay without realizing, is that activation does not happen in the future. It does not wait for a better time. It does not depend on perfect circumstances. It only responds to awareness in the present. And this is where the separation happens. Because most people live either in memory or in anticipation. They replay what has already happened, analyzing it, questioning it, attaching meaning to it. Where they project forward, imagining what might happen, worrying, planning, trying to control what has not even arrived yet. And in doing so, they miss the only place where real change can occur. Right now. This moment you are in is not just another passing second. It is the only point where your higher level can connect with your current self. It is the only space where alignment becomes possible. But if your attention is constantly pulled away by thoughts, by distractions, by emotional noise, then you remain disconnected from the very thing that is trying to rise within you. Archangel Michael is making this clear with precision. He is not asking you to do more. He is not telling you to become something else. He is telling you to notice. Because everything you need to activate this higher level is already present, but it is subtle. It is not loud enough to compete with distraction. It does not force itself into your awareness. It waits for your attention to turn inward, even if only for a moment. Think about how often your attention drifts without you realizing it. You may be in a conversation, but your mind is somewhere else. You may be experiencing something, but you are already thinking about what comes next. You may even be listening to this message, and yet part of your mind is trying to interpret, analyze, or anticipate instead of simply receiving. That constant movement of attention, that inability to remain fully present, is what delays activation. Not because you are incapable, but because awareness is divided. And divided awareness cannot recognize what is already available. This is why Michael's instruction is so direct. Return to the present, not as a concept but as a practice. Right now, as you hear these words, there is something happening within you. A subtle shift, a quiet observation, a sense of stillness that may not have been there before. That is not accidental. That is what happens when your attention begins to settle. That is the doorway to activation. But here is where most people step away. Because staying present feels unfamiliar. It feels like nothing is happening. It feels too simple to be powerful. And so, the mind tries to move again. It tries to create noise. It tries to distract. It tries to pull you back into patterns that feel more active, more engaging, more comfortable. But those patterns keep you at the same level. The higher level within you does not operate in noise. It operates in awareness. And awareness requires stillness. Not external stillness necessarily, but internal stillness. A point where you are not reacting, not chasing, not resisting. Just observing, just noticing, just being fully present with what is already unfolding. This is why this moment is so important. Because right now, you are being given an opportunity to experience that awareness directly. You do not need to search for it. You do not need to create it. You only need to stop overlooking it. Feel what is happening inside you as you listen. Notice the shifts in your thoughts. Notice the way your attention moves. Notice the moments where everything becomes quiet, even briefly. Those are not gaps. Those are openings. Openings where the higher level within you begins to connect. Openings where clarity replaces confusion. Openings where you start to see without overthinking. But if you rush past these moments, if you treat them as insignificant, if you return immediately to distraction, then the connection weakens. Not because it disappears, but because it is no longer being acknowledged. Awareness is not something you gain once. It is something you choose again and again. And every time you choose it, even for a few seconds, you strengthen the connection to that higher level. This is the condition for activation. Not effort, not struggle, not waiting, but noticing. The simplicity of this may challenge you because it removes every excuse. It removes the idea that you need more time, more knowledge, more preparation. It brings everything back to one point of responsibility. Your attention, where it goes, what it follows, what it ignores. And right now, your attention is being guided inward for a reason. Because something within you is ready to rise, but it will not do so through force. It will only respond to awareness. So stay here. Do not rush past this moment. Do not move on too quickly. Because the more you remain present, the more you will begin to feel it clearly. That shift, that clarity, that quiet sense that something within you is aligning in real time. That is not imagination. That is activation beginning. Type "I am present" in the comments if you are fully here in this moment. Lesson code 3434 is now anchoring you in awareness. There is something you must understand clearly now, because if you miss this, everything else you've heard will remain incomplete. The reason your higher level has not fully activated yet is not because it isn't ready. It is not because you are unprepared. It is not because the timing is wrong. It is because something has been quietly interfering with your awareness, and that interference has been so subtle, so normal, that you did not recognize it for what it truly is. Spiritual distraction. Not the kind that looks obvious. Not loud chaos or visible disruption. No, this is far more refined than that. This kind of distraction blends into your daily life. It hides inside your routines. It disguises itself as normal thinking, normal habits, normal reactions. And because it feels familiar, you never question it. But its effect is powerful. It keeps your attention scattered, your awareness divided, and your higher level just out of reach. Think about how easily your focus shifts throughout the day. One moment you are clear, present, aware, and then suddenly, without warning, your mind is pulled into something else. A thought, a memory, a worry, a notification, a conversation that lingers longer than it should. And before you realize it, you are no longer present. You are somewhere else, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. That shift may seem small, but it is not. Because every time your attention is pulled away from the present moment, the connection to your higher level weakens. Not permanently, but repeatedly. And repetition creates a pattern of disconnection that becomes so normal, you stop noticing it altogether. This is how distraction works. It does not need to stop you completely. It only needs to interrupt you consistently. Archangel Michael is revealing this now because you have reached a point where small interruptions can no longer be ignored. Before, they slowed you down. Now, they are the only thing standing between you and activation. And what makes this even more critical is that these distractions do not feel harmful. They feel justifying. You tell yourself you are just thinking things through. You tell yourself you are just processing. You tell yourself you are just responding to what is happening around you. But in reality, much of it is unnecessary movement of attention. Movement that keeps you from settling into awareness. Movement that prevents you from noticing what is already unfolding within you. And here is the deeper truth that may challenge you. Not all distractions come from outside of you. Many of them come from within. The constant inner dialogue. The need to explain everything. The habit of overanalyzing instead of observing. The impulse to react instead of remain still. These are not signs of clarity. They are signs of mental noise. And mental noise is one of the most effective ways to stay disconnected from your higher level without realizing it. Because when your mind is always active, always moving, always searching for the next thought, it never rests long enough to recognize what is already present. This is why awareness feels unfamiliar to you at times. Because you are used to movement. You are used to doing, thinking, reacting. But awareness requires a different state. It requires you to pause, to observe, to notice without immediately responding. and that feels uncomfortable at first because it breaks the pattern of distraction you have been living in. But once you begin to see it, everything changes. You start to recognize how often your attention is pulled away unnecessarily. You start to notice how quickly your mind tries to fill silence. You start to see how easily you are drawn into things that do not truly matter. And with that recognition comes a choice. A simple but powerful choice. To return. To bring your attention back. Again and again. Not forcefully. Not with frustration. But with awareness. Because the moment you notice you have been distracted is the moment you are already returning to presence. And every return strengthens your connection. This is how you begin to reclaim your attention. Not by eliminating every distraction, but by no longer following them unconsciously. By seeing them for what they are. Interruptions, not priorities. Noise, not truth. And as you begin to do this, something remarkable happens. The gaps between distractions begin to grow. Moments of awareness begin to last longer. Your mind becomes quieter. Your perception becomes sharper. And that higher level within you, the one that has been waiting, begins to feel closer, clearer, more accessible. Not because it moved, but because you did. You shifted your attention. You stopped feeding distraction. You started choosing awareness. This is why Michael is bringing this to your attention now. Because you cannot activate a higher level while constantly being pulled away from it. You cannot step into clarity while remaining attached to noise. And you cannot experience what is already within you if you are always looking somewhere else. So listen carefully. Every moment you become aware of distraction, you are not failing. You are awakening. Every time you bring your attention back, you are not starting over. You are strengthening your connection. And every second you remain present, even briefly, you are moving closer to full activation. This is not about perfection. This is about recognition. Because once you see distraction clearly, it loses its power over you. And once it loses its power, your awareness becomes stable. And when your awareness becomes stable, activation becomes inevitable. Type "I reclaim my focus" in the comments if you are choosing awareness over distraction. Blessing code 3838 is now clearing your mental space. There is a shift happening around you right now, and the reason it feels difficult to explain is because it is not fully visible yet. It is being felt before it is being understood. The atmosphere around your life has begun to change, not in a dramatic or obvious way, but in subtle layers that are quietly reshaping how you think, how you feel, and how you respond to everything that once felt normal. And if you pause for a moment, if you truly reflect without rushing past it, you will realize something undeniable. You are not the same as you were before. Not in the way you react, not in the way you perceive, not even in the way you tolerate certain things. Something within you has already begun to move, and this movement is not random. It is not temporary. It is the early evidence that your higher level is no longer dormant. It is beginning to take influence. You may have noticed it in moments where your usual reactions simply do not show up the way they used to. Situations that once triggered you now feel distant, almost irrelevant. Conversations that once held your attention now feel draining, as if your energy no longer aligns with what is being said. Even your own thoughts have started to shift, becoming quieter, more selective, less reactive. That is not coincidence. That is transformation in progress. But here is where it becomes even more important to pay attention. Because these changes are subtle, your mind may try to dismiss them. It may try to label them as mood, as fatigue, as temporary detachment. It may even try to pull you back into old patterns just to restore what feels familiar. And if you are not aware of what is happening, you may unknowingly follow that pull, thinking nothing significant is taking place. But something is, and it is already affecting the way you experience your reality. The atmosphere around you is responding to your internal shift. This is why certain environments feel different. This is why certain people seem out of sync with you, even if nothing obvious has changed. This is why moments of silence feel deeper than before, and moments of noise feel more overwhelming than they used to. You are becoming more sensitive, but not in a weak or fragile way. You are becoming more aware, and awareness changes everything. It changes what you allow. It changes what you engage with. It changes what you give your energy to. And most importantly, it changes what you notice. Before, many things passed by you without recognition. Patterns, behaviors, energy shifts. They were there, but you were not tuned in to see them clearly. Now, that is changing. Now, you are beginning to observe more than you react. You are beginning to feel more than you ignore. You are beginning to notice what once remained hidden beneath the surface. This is one of the clearest signs that your higher level is already activating. Because activation is not a sudden leap. It is a gradual shift in perception. A steady realignment of how you experience the world. And once that shift begins, it cannot be reversed, it can only be ignored or embraced. This is why Archangel Michael is bringing your attention to this now. Because if you do not recognize these signs, you may misunderstand them. You may think something is wrong when, in truth, something is aligning. You may try to fix what is actually evolving. You may try to return to a version of yourself that no longer fits the level you are stepping into, and that would slow the process, not stop it, but delay it. Because every time you choose what is familiar over what is true, you step away from the awareness that is trying to stabilize within you. But when you recognize the shift, everything changes. You begin to trust what you are feeling. You begin to allow the changes instead of resisting them. You begin to move with the transformation instead of questioning it. And as you do that, the shift becomes stronger, clearer, more stable. You will start to notice that your decisions feel different, not forced, not overanalyzed, but naturally aligned. You will begin to sense when something is right or wrong without needing to justify it. You will feel drawn toward certain actions and pulled away from others, not out of fear, but out of clarity. This is the higher level guiding you, not through effort, but through awareness. And the more you stay present with these changes, the more they will expand. Because what you are experiencing now is only the beginning. The atmosphere has shifted, but it has not finished shifting. You have changed, but you have not reached your full alignment yet. This is a transition, a movement from one level of awareness to another. And the only thing required from you is recognition. You see it. You feel it. You trust it. Because once you do, the process accelerates. The connection deepens. And the higher level within you moves from subtle influence to clear presence. Type ISE the shift in the comments if you recognize the change within you. Blessing code 4242 is now aligning your path forward. There is a reason your attention had been under constant pressure. There is a reason it feels difficult to stay fully present, to remain aware, to hold your focus without it being pulled in multiple directions. And it is not random. It is not just the result of a busy life or a restless mind. There is a deeper layer to this, something that operates beneath what you can easily see, and Archangel Michael is revealing it now with absolute clarity. Your attention is not just a mental function. is a gateway to your awareness, your alignment, and your activation. And because of that, it has become a target. The moment your awareness begins to rise, the moment you start noticing more, feeling more, seeing more clearly, something immediately responds. Not to destroy you, not to harm you directly, but to interrupt you, to pull you away from the one thing that allows your higher level to fully emerge, your presence. This is the battle you have been feeling without fully understanding. It is not a battle around you. It is a battle for your attention. Because if your attention remains scattered, your awareness cannot stabilize. And if your awareness cannot stabilize, your higher level cannot fully activate. It remains present. It remains ready, but it cannot take control while your focus is constantly being redirected. Think about how quickly your attention shifts. How easily something external can pull you away from what you were just noticing. A thought appears, and you follow it. A distraction shows up, and you engage with it. A reaction rises, and you act on it before even observing it. These are not just habits. They are patterns of interruption. And those patterns have been reinforced over time, not by accident, but because they keep you operating below your full awareness. They keep you reactive instead of observant. They keep you engaged in noise instead of connected to clarity. This is why Michael is speaking with urgency now. Because you have reached a level where unconscious distraction is no longer neutral. It is resistance. Not resistance from outside forces alone, but resistance created by patterns that keep your attention moving instead of settling. And once you begin to see this clearly, you realize something powerful. You have been pulled away from yourself more often than you have been present with yourself. Not intentionally, but consistently. And consistency creates reality. The more your attention is taken, the less you experience what is already within you. The less you notice, the less you connect. And the less you connect, the longer your higher level remains just beneath the surface instead of fully expressed. But here is where everything begins to change. Because once you recognize that your attention is being pulled, you are no longer controlled by it. You become aware of the movement. You see the shift as it happens. You notice the moment your focus begins to drift. And in that moment, you are given a choice: to follow it or to return. This is where your power begins to activate. Not in controlling every thought, not in forcing stillness, but in choosing where your attention rests. Because your attention is not meant to be passive. It is meant to be directed. And when you begin to direct it consciously, everything changes. The distractions do not disappear immediately. The thoughts do not stop instantly. The patterns do not vanish overnight. But their influence weakens. Because you are no longer moving with them automatically. You are observing them. And observation creates distance. Distance creates clarity. And clarity restores control. This is the shift Michael is calling you into. Not a fight against distraction, but a rise above it. A place where your awareness becomes stronger than the pull of noise. A place where your attention remains steady even when distractions appear. Because they will appear. They will continue to try to pull you away. Not because you are weak, but because your awareness is becoming strong. And the stronger your awareness becomes, the more important your attention becomes. This is why you must remain alert. Not tense, not anxious, but aware. Aware of where your attention is going. Aware of what you are engaging with. Aware of when you are present and when you are not. Because every moment of awareness strengthens your position. Every return to presence stabilizes your connection. And every second you remain conscious of what is happening within you weakens the patterns that once controlled you. This is not a dramatic battle. It is a subtle one. Quiet, constant, but completely winnable. Because you are not trying to create something new. You are reclaiming something that was always yours. Your attention, your awareness, your ability to remain present. And as you begin to hold it more consistently, you will feel it. A difference in how you think. A difference in how you respond. A difference in how you experience even the simplest moments. That is not small. That is everything. Because that is the foundation of your activation. And once that foundation becomes stable, nothing can pull you back to where you were before. Type "I guard my attention" in the comments if you are choosing awareness over distraction. Lesson code 4747 is now strengthening your focus. There is a power you have been overlooking, not because it is hidden, but because it is too simple for the mind to recognize as powerful. That power is your ability to notice, not analyze, not control, not force. Just notice. And what Archangel Michael is revealing now is that this simple act, this quiet, consistent awareness, is the very key that unlocks divine alignment in your life. You have been taught, in many ways, that transformation requires effort, that you must do more, learn more, push harder, become something different. But what if the truth is the opposite? What if the shift you have been waiting for does not come from adding anything, but from finally seeing what has always been there? Because the moment you begin to truly notice, everything changes. Not all at once, not dramatically, but deeply. You start to notice your thoughts before they carry you away. You begin to notice your reactions before they take control. You see patterns forming in real time instead of after they have already played out. And in that noticing, something extraordinary happens. You create space. Space between you and the automatic response. Space between you and the old pattern. Space where choice becomes possible. And it is in that space that alignment begins. Because alignment is not something you chase. It is something that emerges when you are no longer lost in unconscious movement. It happens when you are present enough to see clearly, to respond intentionally, to move with awareness instead of habit. This is why noticing is so powerful. It interrupts the automatic. It reveals the hidden. It brings what was unconscious into awareness. And once something is seen clearly, it loses its ability to control you in the same way. Think about how many times you have reacted without realizing it. How many times you have followed a thought, engaged in a distraction, or repeated a pattern simply because you did not see it happening in the moment. That is what unconscious living looks like. But now, that is changing. Now, you are beginning to see. And the more you see, the less you are controlled. The more you notice, the more you awaken. And the more you awaken, the more aligned you become. Because alignment is not about perfection. It is about awareness. It is about being present enough to recognize what is true in each moment and allowing that truth to guide your actions instead of default patterns. This is where the higher level within you begins to take form in your daily life. Not as something distant or abstract, but as a living presence within your awareness. A quiet clarity that guides you without force. A subtle knowing that does not need to explain itself. A steady sense of direction that feels natural, not constructed. But it all begins with noticing. Noticing how you feel without immediately labeling it. Noticing your thoughts without immediately believing them. Noticing your environment without becoming absorbed in it. Noticing yourself fully, honestly, without judgment. And as you begin to do this, something within you stabilizes. Your attention becomes less reactive. Your mind becomes less crowded. Your perception becomes sharper. And the connection to your higher level becomes stronger. This is divine alignment in motion. Not something you achieve once, but something you enter into continuously. Moment by moment, choice by choice, awareness by awareness. And here is what makes this even more powerful. The more you notice, the more you begin to see patterns beyond yourself. You begin to understand situations more clearly. You sense the direction things are moving before they fully unfold. You recognize what is aligned and what is not without needing external confirmation. This is not intuition developing. This is awareness expanding. And expanded awareness naturally leads to aligned action. You no longer force decisions. You no longer overthink every step. You move with clarity, with presence, with a sense of knowing that does not come from logic alone. This is the level you are stepping into. But it remains accessible only as long as you remain aware. Because the moment you stop noticing, the moment you return to unconscious patterns, the connection weakens. Not because it is lost, but because it is no longer being engaged. This is why Michael continues to bring your focus back to this one point. Notice, not later. Now, because everything you are looking for is already unfolding, not outside of you, within you. And the more you notice it, the more it reveals itself, until what once felt subtle becomes clear, what once felt distant becomes present, and what once felt like potential becomes reality. This is the power of noticing. Type "I notice" and a line in the comments if you are stepping into awareness. Blessing code 5151 is now activating your alignment. As this awareness deepens and alignment begins to take hold within you, understand that this moment is not just for you. It is a seed meant to multiply into countless other lives. Every time you choose to support this mission through Super Thanks with the PayPal link in the description, you are becoming a vessel through which light reaches those still searching in darkness. The word declares, one plants, another waters, but God gives the increase, and today, your giving becomes that divine planting. I speak this directly to your spirit. This is your moment to respond with intention, not hesitation. What you release now will return as a harvest of clarity, favor, and breakthrough in your own life. Step forward in faith, act with purpose, and give as you are led. Here comes a point in every awakening where awareness is no longer enough on its own. A point where seeing clearly is not the same as stepping forward. A point where everything you have felt, everything you have noticed, everything that has been stirring within you begins to converge into one undeniable truth. This is the moment where you must decide. Not later. Not when it feels easier. Not when everything makes perfect sense. Now. Because what you are experiencing is not just awareness increasing. It is pressure building. A quiet but persistent pressure that is asking you to move differently, to respond differently, to stop returning to the same patterns that once felt normal but now feel misaligned. You have felt this. That hesitation before reacting the way you used to. That pause before engaging in something that no longer feels right. That inner resistance when you try to go back to what is familiar. That is not confusion. That is the higher level within you refusing to go backward. And this is where the decision becomes real. Because you cannot stay in between forever. You cannot continue to see clearly and still act unconsciously without feeling the tension increase. You cannot remain aware and still choose distraction without noticing the disconnect. Something within you has already crossed a threshold, and now every choice you make carries more weight than it did before. This is why this moment matters so deeply. Because activation is not automatic. It is allowed. And what allows it is your decision to align with what you are already aware of instead of ignoring it. Think about the choices you have been making recently. The small ones. The subtle ones. The ones that seem insignificant on the surface but carry a deeper meaning underneath. Each time you choose presence over distraction, you move closer to activation. Each time you choose awareness over habit, you strengthen your alignment. But each time you ignore what you see, each time you return to what you know no longer fits, you delay what is already ready within you. This is not punishment. This is precision. Because your higher level will not force itself into your life. It will not override your choices. It will not take control without your participation. It waits for alignment. And alignment is a decision. A decision to stop pretending you do not see what you see. A decision to stop following patterns that no longer serve you. A decision to trust what is rising within you even when it feels unfamiliar. And here is where it becomes even more important to understand something clearly. This decision is not one large, dramatic moment. It is many small moments. Moment after moment where you either stay aware or you drift. Moment after moment where you either follow clarity or you return to habit. Moment after moment where you either move forward or you delay again. Because delay does not always look like stopping. Sometimes it looks like continuing in the same way, even when you know something has changed. Sometimes it looks like waiting for a perfect moment that will never come. Sometimes it looks like convincing yourself that you need more time, more certainty, more understanding before you take action. But the truth is, you already have what you need. Not in theory. In awareness. You see more now than you did before. You feel more now than you did before. You recognize patterns now that once went unnoticed. That is enough. That is more than enough. And the longer you wait for something else, the more you step away from what is already available. This is why Michael is bringing you to this point with such clarity. Because this is where many people pause. This is where many people hesitate. This is where awareness rises but action does not follow. And without action, awareness remains incomplete. It becomes something you understand but do not live. Something you recognize but do not embody. And that is not why you were brought here. You were brought here to activate. To step into the higher level that is already present within you. To move differently, not just think differently. To respond with awareness, not just observe it. And that requires a decision. A quiet, eternal decision that shifts everything. Not announced, not forced, but chosen. Chosen in this moment, and then chosen again in the next, and again after that, until it becomes your natural way of being. This is how activation happens. Not all at once, but through consistent alignment, through repeated decisions that match what you already know is true. And right now, you are standing at that point. You can feel it. You can sense it. You know something is different. You know something is ready. The only question that remains is whether you will act on it or delay it. Type "I choose alignment" in the comments if you are stepping forward without delay. Blessing code 5656 is now sealing your decision. There is a moment, quiet, almost unnoticeable at first, when everything begins to change from the inside out. Not because something new has entered your life, but because something that was always within you finally steps forward. This is the moment of activation. And when it happens, it does not arrive with noise or announcement. It arrives with clarity. A clarity that feels different from anything you have experienced before. It is not forced. It is not something you have to hold on to. It is simply there. Steady. Present. unshaken by the distractions that once pulled you away so easily. And the first thing you will notice when this higher level begins to fully activate is that your inner world becomes quieter, not empty, not dull, but clear. The constant movement of thoughts begins to slow. The need to analyze everything begins to fade. The urgency to react disappears. And in its place, there is a calm awareness that allows you to see things exactly as they are, without distortion, without confusion, without unnecessary interpretation. This is where your power begins to stabilize. Because when your mind is no longer filled with noise, your perception becomes precise. You begin to understand situations without needing to overthink them. You begin to sense what is aligned and what is not without needing external validation. You begin to trust your own awareness because it no longer feels uncertain. It feels grounded. This is the first sign that your higher level is no longer just present. It is lead you. And as it leads, your actions begin to change naturally. You no longer force yourself to behave differently. You simply do. Without effort, without resistance. The things that once required discipline now feel automatic. The habits that once controlled you lose their grip without struggle. The distractions that once held your attention no longer feel compelling. Not because they disappeared, but because you no longer resonate with them. This is what true activation looks like. It is not about adding more control. It is about losing the need for it, because alignment replaces effort. And when alignment is present, everything begins to flow with a sense of ease that cannot be explained from the outside. Decisions become simpler, not because life becomes easier, but because your perception becomes clearer. You no longer waste energy questioning what you already know. You no longer delay action when clarity is present. You move with certainty, not because you have all the answers, but because you trust the awareness guiding you. And this trust is what transforms everything. Because once you begin to trust this higher level within you, you stop seeking constant confirmation from the outside. You stop doubting every step. You stop looking back at what you have already outgrown. Your focus shifts forward, not in a forced way, but in a natural progression that feels aligned with who you are becoming. But there is something even deeper that begins to happen. Your relationship with yourself changes. You are no longer divided between what you feel and what you do. You are no longer caught between awareness and reaction. You become consistent within yourself. And that consistency creates a sense of stability that cannot be shaken by external circumstances. This is where true strength is formed, not from control, not from resistance, but from alignment. And when you reach this point, the way you experience the world changes completely. Situations that once felt overwhelming now feel manageable. Challenges that once created confusion now reveal direction. Uncertainty no longer creates fear, it creates awareness. Because you understand something that you could not fully see before. Everything you need is already within your awareness. And as long as you remain connected to it, nothing can truly pull you out of alignment. This does not mean that distractions will never appear again. They will. This does not mean that challenges will disappear. They will not. But your relationship with them will change. Because you are no longer operating from the same level. You are not reacting from habit. You are responding from awareness. And that changes the outcome of everything. This is why activation is not just a moment. It is a shift in identity. A shift in how you exist within your own life. You are no longer trying to become something. You are living as what you already are. And that is the difference between potential and reality. Because potential exists without expression, but activation brings it into form. And now, you are beginning to experience that transition from knowing to being, from awareness to embodiment, from possibility to presence. And the more you remain aligned with this, the stronger it becomes, the clearer it becomes, the more natural it becomes, until there is no separation between you and this higher level. It simply becomes you. Type "I walk in alignment" in the comments if you feel this shift within you. Blessing code 6060 is now strengthening your inner clarity. Now that the shift has begun, now that the higher level within you has started to rise and take form, there is something you must understand clearly. This is not the end of the process. This is the beginning of a new way of living. Because activation is not just something you experience once and then move on from. It is something you carry forward. It is something you embody. It is something you live through, moment by moment, choice by choice, until it becomes your natural state. And this is where many people lose what they have already accessed, not because they are incapable, but because they do not integrate what has been revealed. They touch awareness, but they do not remain in it. They feel clarity, but they do not follow it consistently. They experience alignment, but they return to old patterns out of habit. And slowly, without realizing it, they drift back to a lower level, not because the higher level disappeared, but because they stopped choosing it. This is why this section matters more than you may realize. Because what you do after activation determines whether it becomes your new reality or just a temporary experience. Archangel Michael is not only guiding you into awareness, he is preparing you to sustain it. And sustaining it requires something simple, yet powerful. Consistency and awareness. Not perfection. Not constant stillness. But a repeated return to presence. Every day. In every situation, in every moment where you notice yourself beginning to drift. Because even now, as you feel this clarity, as you sense this alignment, there will be moments where your attention shifts again, where distraction returns, where old habits try to reappear. And when that happens, it is not failure, it is an opportunity to choose differently. An opportunity to return to awareness instead of following the pattern. This is how the new level becomes stable. Not by avoiding every distraction, but by no longer identifying with it. You begin to see it for what it is, something that appears, but does not define you. Something that arises, but does not control you. And once you stop identifying with it, you stop being pulled by it in the same way. This is where your daily life begins to change in a very real way. You wake up with a different sense of awareness. You move through your day with more presence. You respond to situations with clarity instead of reaction. And even when things become challenging, you do not lose yourself in them. You remain grounded. You remain aware. You remain connected to that higher level within you. This is what it means to live from this level. Not escaping life, not avoiding difficulty, but experiencing everything from a place of awareness instead of unconscious reaction. And as you continue to live this way, something else begins to happen. Your external reality starts to reflect your internal alignment. The decisions you make begin to lead you in clearer directions. The situations you encounter begin to align more naturally. The people you engage with either resonate with your awareness or fall away without force. Because when you change your level of awareness, you change your level of experience. Not by controlling the outside world, but by transforming how you interact with it. This is why consistency is so important. Because every moment you remain aware strengthens the connection. Every moment you return to presence reinforces the new level. Every moment you choose alignment over habit builds a foundation that becomes harder and harder to break. Until eventually, it is no longer something you have to think about. It becomes who you are. And this is where true stability is formed. Not in controlling every outcome, not in eliminating every challenge, but in remaining consistent within yourself regardless of what happens around you. Because once you reach that point, nothing external can pull you back to where you were before. You may experience distraction. You may experience difficulty, but you will not lose your awareness. You will not lose your alignment. You will return to it faster, stronger, more naturally. And this is how the higher level becomes permanent, not as a temporary state, but as your new baseline. This is the path forward, not complicated, not overwhelming, but intentional. A daily choice to remain aware, a continuous return to presence, a steady commitment to what you already know is true within you. And as long as you continue this, the path will remain clear, because you are no longer searching for direction. You are living from it. Type "I live in awareness" in the comments if you are committing to this path. Blessing code 6464 is now anchoring your daily alignment. There are moments in time that carry more weight than others. Moments that are not just part of your life, but turning points within it. And July 24th is one of those moments. Not because of the date itself, but because of what has been made available to you within it. A window of awareness. A doorway of activation. A precise alignment that has brought you face to face with a higher level of yourself that has been waiting far longer than you realize. And now, as this message reaches its final point, Archangel Michael steps forward again. Not to repeat what has already been said, but to make one thing unmistakably clear. This moment will not repeat itself in the same way again. You may have other opportunities. You may experience awareness again. You may feel alignment return in different forms. But this exact intersection of clarity, readiness, and timing, this exact alignment you are standing in right now, is unique. And what you do with it matters more than you may fully understand. Because now, you know, you are no longer unaware. You are no longer guessing. You are no longer searching blindly for something outside of you. You have seen what is within you. You have felt it rise. You have recognized the shift. And that recognition carries responsibility. Not pressure, not fear, but responsibility. Because awareness changes the standard you live by. You can no longer return to unconscious patterns without feeling the disconnect. You can no longer ignore what you see without sensing the misalignment. Something within you has already moved forward, and now it is asking you to follow. This is the final warning, not of danger, but of delay. Do not treat this moment lightly. Do not assume you can come back to it later in the same way. Do not convince yourself that awareness will remain this clear without your attention. Because clarity, when ignored, begins to fade, not disappear completely, but soften, blur, lose its intensity, and slowly, the old patterns begin to feel normal again. Not because they are right, but because they are familiar. And familiarity, if left unchecked, can pull you back into a lower level without resistance. This is why Michael speaks with urgency now. Because you are at a point where forward movement is natural, but only if you continue. Only if you stay aware. Only if you choose alignment again and again. This is not about holding on to this moment with force. It is about carrying its awareness with you, letting it guide your next step, your next response, your next decision. Because the truth is, your life does not change in one moment. It changes in the moments that follow. And those moments are shaped by what you choose now So listen carefully. You are not being asked to do something extraordinary. You are being asked to remain aware, to trust what you have already seen, to move with what you have already felt, to stop delaying what is already ready, because everything you have been waiting for is not ahead of you. It is within you, and it has already begun to rise. This is your confirmation. This is your activation. This is your moment. And now, it becomes your path. Archangel Michael does not leave you here without assurance. He does not bring you to awareness and then withdraw. He stands with you in this transition, guarding your clarity, strengthening your focus, holding the space for your alignment to stabilize. But even with that support, the choice remains yours: to stay aware, or to drift, to move forward, or to delay. And now, you understand the difference, not intellectually, but directly, because you have felt it. And once you feel it, you cannot unknow it. So carry this with you, into your next moment, into your next decision, into your daily life. Let it become part of how you exist, not something you remember, but something you live. Because this is not the end of a message. This is the beginning of a transformation, and it is already in motion. Type "I remain aware" in the comments if you are choosing to carry this forward. Blessing code 7070 is now sealing this activation within you. As you step forward from this moment of activation, understand that your awareness is not meant to stay contained. It is meant to flow like a river, reaching souls who are still searching for this same clarity. Every time you sow into this mission through Super Thanks or the PayPal link in the description, you become a carrier of light, helping this message reach those who are still in darkness. The word declares, "Give, and it shall be given unto you, pressed down, shaken together, and running over." And today that promise is alive over your life. I speak this directly into your spirit. This is your moment to act with intention, not hesitation. Your giving is not a transaction. It is a prophetic alignment that unlocks increase in your own path. Step forward now, release your seed, and become part of what heaven is expanding through this message.